All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. I know the streams are just starting on some platforms, but I want you to know that we are not only really excited to be here, but we are really excited to be able to share with all of you this morning. So if you can, jump in the chat and let me know if you can hear us, you can see us, and then we will go from there. I'm just checking to make sure it's showing on my side. Mm. Oh, I'm seeing us. All right, we are live and ready to go. So I know some of you may join by replay later. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, as always, please feel free to drop them in the comments. We are live in 3 places, y'all: Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, I believe. And so I am really excited about that. In case you're new here, I'm Andrea St. Louis, otherwise known as Step Into Purpose. And we have been going through a 40-day journey through my book, 40 Days Lighter, a devotional journey for women determined to live free. But you do not have to be a woman to take this journey. Though I offer some specific encouragement to our sisters sometimes. To this morning, I'm excited, thrilled, blessed, honored to be joined by the amazing Crystal Center Brown, who is not only I want to get this right. She is a career. Hold on. Of course, my notes are not visible now. Um, Long story short, well, let me actually, before I even get to her official title, Crystal is a 13-time author, number one. And when I felt the inspiration to write a book, she is one of the first people I spoke to about this thing that was brewing. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know if I had something or not. And I reached out to her. And at the time, I don't think I knew you very well back then.
No, nope.
I reached out to her and I said, hey, I know that you're an author. I think you read a number of her books. I intend to read all of them at some point. My favorite are the Rhythm and Blue books.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
but when I reached out to Crystal, not only was she so generous with her wisdom and so open with sharing, but she also really made me feel comfortable and like writing was not out of reach for me.
Right.
Um, and you validated my idea, and I'm grateful for that. I'll forever be grateful for that. On top of it, so her engagement with this story does not stop there. Um, I believe it's 2017 for Lent, she posted this challenge called 40 bags in 40 days. It was someone else's challenge, but I think you
Yes.
decided to participate and you shared it
Mhm.
with the rest of us. And that challenge is what kicked off my real life 40-day journey in 2017 that led to me writing this book.
I had no idea.
I started
That's
with the
amazing.
closet, and as I was doing that, the Lord started showing me some other things as well. And then I made the commitment to blog for the 40 days. And after I got most of the way through blogging, he was like, all right, it's time to write the book.
That's right. Oh my, I had no idea.
Yeah.
That is
But
amazing.
I don't want to take up too much of the time. So Crystal is not just an author, a poet. I met you first as a poet. I saw you
Yes,
doing
yeah.
poetry.
Mhm.
An artist in all the ways that are beautiful and wonderful. I love your curiosity about life. She's also a certified career and life design coach. So
Yes.
I really want you to listen and maybe take some notes this morning as well. And I think she's the perfect person to talk to us about our day 30 devotion, which was technically yesterday. And I think it fits in a little bit with today's devotion as well, where we're talking about making decisions, like not pausing on our decisions. I think it's a really good link. We're now in preparation and pursuit. Um, but I want to talk about our day 30 devotion. What's in your hand? What's in your hand?
Mhm.
And it's inspired by Moses, the story of Moses, and how he tried to run from his assignment on his life because he did not feel equipped, prepared, qualified, all the things. And so, again, I think Crystal's a perfect person to speak to that. And so, I'm going to just turn over to Crystal really quick. And then, as we go, if I have some questions, I'll ask. That's all right.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me as a guest. I picked up your book again. I've had your book on my bookshelf, like I said, for about 8 years since you first published it. And something right before Lent told me to pick it up again. And I said, it's 40 days, and this is the perfect time to do this during Lent. So I have been following it every day, all over again, and I'm seeing it through a different lens now. So thank you for writing it. And I think it's a book that anyone, men or women, really can get something from. When I think about what's in my hand, I for years have held on to things that I thought maybe I was not ready to bring to the world. I think in your devotion, you talk about how sometimes your past can influence you um, coming forward with a new idea, right? And I think for a lot of us that's true. And so for me, I had to say, I don't have to be fully equipped to do something. If God puts it on my heart, I need to go ahead and put it out into the world. And so thank you for that. And the great examples in the Bible, I love the Moses example, and I love the woman with the oil, that's my favorite story in the Bible, because it shows us that God will take what we have and expand it as long as we have our faith and we follow what he says to do. And sometimes we don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. Absolutely true. And as you're saying, sometimes we don't do that. Can we talk a little bit about what are some of the reasons why, especially as a career and life design coach? Like,
Mhm.
what are some of the reasons that people give you when whether they first come to you or you go to them,
Yeah.
why they can't do that next step?
A lot of times it's because they've been told that they had a certain path, right? Especially younger people. Their parents will sometimes say, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be whatever. They actually go through school, they get that career, and they get into the career and they don't like it and it's not for them. And so I coach women that are my age, I'm 51, who are starting a new chapter, who have done a job for 30 years and are like, this is not what I was made to do. And so it's really having the faith to step out. And a lot of us can't do it financially, right? But
Right.
I tell people, I'm like, even if you just do it as a volunteer for a little while until you figure out what you want to do next, don't stop doing it. Like, at least try it. And I think that's the number one thing, is that they've been told a story, or they've told themselves a story that suddenly isn't true anymore, or was never really true.
Right. Right. Yeah. And the stories we tell ourselves are so important, aren't they?
Yes.
Because I think one of the important notes about Moses' story is that, he does try to do something before he runs
Right.
away from Egypt, but he
Yes.
doesn't try to do it I guess the right way is the best way
Right.
to say it, right? But he did try to do something. However, I think our motives matter. And there's a part of this story, like there's this undertone of he had become more Egyptian than Hebrew, and now he needed to prove that he was, writing for his people. And
Right.
I feel like a lot of people feel that pressure today because it's like there's so much happening in our world, and it's like if you don't talk about it, if you don't say anything, especially if you're an influencer, especially if you're a creative, if you're not
Right.
talking about the things that are happening, or if you're not talking about them in the way that everyone else is, suddenly you're penalized for it. Like you feel like maybe I'm not with my people.
Right.
Um, so he tries to do something, ends up killing someone, and runs away from Egypt.
Right. Yeah. 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 Sometimes we have to step away. I think as a leader, I'm in a doctoral program right now. One of the things we talk about a lot is leaders going up into the balcony to observe. So you have to be with your team sometimes, but also sometimes you have to step away. And I think that's what he had to do. And I think we can't see the picture if we're in the picture. And so it's
Right.
hard for us, right? Yeah, you can't see it. And so, but it's hard also as control freaks to step away, because we're like, well, who's going to do it if I don't do it? Well, someone will step up and do it, believe it or not, if you're not there.
Right. That's so good. I'm going to put that in the chat. You can't see the picture sometimes you can't see the picture if you're in the picture.
If you're in it, you can't see it.
That's so good. And then the other part of it that I find interesting is that sometimes we don't go back to the thing that we tried before and we failed at.
Mhm.
We don't go
Yep.
back to the thing we tried before and we failed at. I think sometimes we disqualify ourselves even with, so it was interesting, right? Because I've heard, lots of whether scholars, theologians, preachers debate what might have happened if Moses had stuck around. And the
Yeah.
truth is that he was a prince of Egypt. So technically, maybe they would have come to his defense anyway,
Right, exactly.
right?
Mhm. Yeah.
um, at that time, he chose to run away, and now his assignment still catches up with him. And I think some of us go through some of that. Have you ever had a moment in your life where you tried something, it didn't work, or you simply felt like you weren't qualified or something in your life made you feel like this wasn't the right time. You ran away from it and then your assignment caught back up with you anyway.
Always. Every book I've written has been that. Every volunteer position I've had has been that. And I think about, especially for those of us who have so much going on, that sometimes we think we're not going to do it because we don't have time to do it. But I feel like if it is on your heart, it will come back around again. And I think when I'm writing a musical, I've been writing a musical now for 5 years, and I keep putting it down and picking it back up and putting it down, but it keeps coming back and finding me again. And so I know it's going to happen in the next couple of years, but I was kind of running from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, that's really, really good. What would you say to the person who is you right now and they're still running?
It's gonna catch you, and, the more you I don't wanna say slow down, but I think the more that you just accept the fact that this is your gift and this is your calling, you can be prepared for it. Because I don't want it to run up on you and you're not prepared.
Right.
Physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, sometimes we're presented with an opportunity and we're not ready physically or mentally, and then it passes us, and
Right.
that opportunity will go to somebody else, and so you have to be ready, always ready, right, for it, but
Yes.
when it's truly clear in your heart and you've been writing about it and talking about it and it's in your dreams, then you have to act on it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mhm.
So I had another question, and sometimes I have this thing where the questions they come and then they're on their way back out. So now we're getting to the point of the story that I actually pulled the verse from for this devotion, where Moses has accepted his assignment. He's
Mhm.
gone to Pharaoh. He's gone through the whole "let my people go." They've gone through the plagues, and finally they're leaving Egypt. It's time to go.
Yep.
And Moses, who again was afraid of the assignment, God gave him some help. His brother would be his mouthpiece, and he goes to Pharaoh. They have the conversation. Pharaoh tells him, "All right, get out of here. You've done enough damage with your God and your plagues.
Yep.
Get out of here." And now they are leaving Egypt, and the Bible says that God hardens Pharaoh's heart, right? Hardens Pharaoh's heart.
Mhm.
I'm always interested by that phrase because it's not just that Pharaoh sat down and was like, you know what? I don't know what I was thinking when I told these people they could leave, right?
Right?
But the fact that God allowed him to come to that mindset that even though I told them they could leave, I'm gonna go back and get them.
Yes.
It reminds me that sometimes, and obviously going through hard seasons has become a very personal topic for me,
Absolutely.
now with the loss of my husband. But
Mhm.
sometimes God will allow circumstances that is going to push us into our
Mhm.
moment, right?
Yes.
Of
Yes.
seeing, not push us into our purpose necessarily, but push us into our ability to see our
Yes.
purpose.
Yes. Yeah. So I have a broken ankle. I had a broken ankle since September. It's almost completely healed now, but that slowed me down tremendously. So for 6 months, I was in a boot, and for 3 months, I was home, like couldn't go anywhere, couldn't drive or anything. And so at first, I was like, "What is this? Did I make a mistake and I'm being punished?" I couldn't figure it out. But I had more clarity in that season than I've had probably in 20 years. And I've gotten more. I don't even want to say gotten more done, but I've just had more clarity, and I have had more purpose in my life. And so I think for me now, looking back on that, that was the reason I was spinning my wheels and doing so many things for so many people, but none of it really was for God or for me or for my family. And so it really did slow me down quite a bit. It made me really stop and rethink a lot of things. And I was able to regroup and do more.
Right. And so I love that you took that time with this injury, this unwanted, unexpected
Hmm.
injury, right? Inconvenient as
Yes.
ever. And you were able to find a moment of pause. And I know it doesn't come by easily. And so I do want to ask, only because I've been asked this so many times and I have my own answer around it. But how did you get from, oh my gosh, this thing has happened to me, to, oh my gosh, maybe there's an opportunity here?
So I'm gonna give a shout out, Ebony Robinson Hopper. I don't know how long she had been going live before that, but think in October was the first time I saw her go live, and I happened to just be home, and of course I couldn't go anywhere, and she was on Facebook, and I believe the first message I heard from her was making room, right? Like making room for what God has for you, and how sometimes He will slow us down, and then it just ended up being almost like a series of stakes in the ground and the tent and all this, and it was just for me, it was like, wow, like, is this just for me? I felt like it was just for me. And
Mhm.
so from that really helped me begin to shift my thinking, because for a few weeks I was really like, what is happening?
Right.
That really, she helped me to really get back in the word in the way that I had been for so many years. And I'm so grateful for her.
Yeah. So you bring me to my next point that community matters.
Yes.
Community matters so much because sometimes when we can't get out of our own heads or we can't get out of our own way, we need other people to help us. I don't even think I thought about the fact that it's been 8 years since this book was released.
Yes. Hmm.
Since I released this book, and being able to pick it back up. And I'll be honest, I felt the nudge from the Lord to read it, but
Hmm.
with going through grief, and
Yes.
you kind of know your own tone, and I'm like, do I want to argue with myself
Right.
for
Right.
30 days?
Right.
um,
But you know what I was going to tell you though, Andrea? Like, I almost didn't share with the world or even with you that I was reading that book again. Because when I was reading back through it, I thought about you losing your husband. And I thought about how much he's mentioned in the book, right? And I said, is this going to bring, you're still in grief, right? So I didn't want to make things harder for you. But God was so clear, and it was like, do it. And I took a chance because I was like, this could backfire completely
ooh,
on, like, it could, I just wasn't sure. And so thank you for being open to it. Thank you for allowing me to share it every day, because I think it's going to help so many people, not only through grief but through clutter and through financial issues and through things that we're all carrying that we aren't telling anybody about. That it's going to help people quietly, which is a way that people need right now.
yeah. I love that you use that term quietly.
Yes.
Um, there was, and I think that this was one of God's ways of working quietly, a
Hmm.
little nudge to go through the book again. And then when I went live and you said, I want you to post every day, like post
Yes.
every day. And I'm
Yep.
like, every day.
Right. I
Because
know. Oh, I know.
I have been feeling, I'm quietly rebuilding behind the scenes. Things are coming back. My
Yeah.
coaching practice is coming back. All of that,
Good.
I'm bringing it back. Um, and I've been doing it quietly behind the scenes. And I kept telling myself, not necessarily even just because of my own carrying my own lament and, lament in one
Hmm.
hand, joy in the other, not even
Hmm.
because of my own grief and sorrow, but because of the expectations that I feel like sometimes get put around someone when they're grieving, like it's too soon for her to be doing that. It's too soon
Right.
for
Exactly. Hmm.
right?
Yep.
Or I had the other thoughts where it was like, God, how am I supposed to help people? Like I've always helped people find direction in their life. How am I supposed to
Hmm.
do that when I'm still trying to find direction in my life?
Right.
And it was almost as if his answer was kind of like with Moses, you keep walking in the direction I told you, and you're going to
That's
find the
it.
direction.
That's it. That's it. Just keep moving.
Just keep
Just keep
moving.
moving. Hmm.
And so here is Moses, he's moving, and he gets to the Red Sea.
Yep.
And he is like, God, this is an impossible situation. I have all of these people.
Right.
This body of water we can't swim through in front of us.
Hmm.
And now on top of it, after
Right.
he could go, he's chasing us.
Hmm. Hmm.
Pharaoh's chasing us, and he's like, there's an impossible situation. And the thing is, God doesn't say, I'm gonna take care of it. God asks him what's in his hand.
Right. It's up to you. It's up to you. My late mother used to say this all the time. If it's going to be, it's up to me. And I used to hate when she would say that, because it would be always at a time where I wanted her help with something. But she's like, you already have what you need. You don't need any special anything. Like, you already have it in your hand. And we all have something in our hand we can be using that we've kind of try to hide behind our backs or put in our pockets or put in a purse or put on a shelf. And it's going to keep appearing in your hand until you use it.
Yeah. And I think even more than that is that sometimes some of us are carrying the thing that answers the questions that we
Hmm.
have,
Yep.
but because we refuse to even try to use it, we're
Right.
holding ourselves back. We're holding ourselves back. And I think that that's the question I had to go back to the Lord with. I've been sitting in the word that I've been sitting with throughout this last, I would say, year and a half, more so in the last, I would say, 6 months, is in Second Kings 4, verse 1 through 7, when one of the widows of the sons of the prophets goes to the prophet Elisha, and says, the creditors, my husband was a good man, he
Yes.
was one of your
Yes.
servants, but he's died and he's left some debt. And the
Hmm.
creditors are coming to take my children into indentured servitude and
Yeah.
into slavery. And one of the things that blessed me about that passage is she's left with an impossible situation. The prophet asked her two questions. First, what do you want me to do for you? But then the
Right.
second question was, what do you have?
What do you have? What
What
do
do
you
you
have? Yes.
And what the Lord began to show me is, Andrea, you have lost a lot, but you haven't lost everything.
No.
What's still there?
Yes.
What's
Yes.
still there?
Yep. Yeah. That was a message earlier this year from Ebony. And what was funny about that was the week before, I'd gotten a 3D printer for my son for Christmas. And I'd made these little small bottles on a shelf. And then the following week, she has the message about what do you know, like what do you
Mhm.
have? And these little, and I had that literally had that in my hand. And I
Yeah,
thought about how God will take the smallest amount that you have and make it enough and make it
yeah,
more really than what you need. You just have to trust. You have to trust and you have to give it out, give it over. Whatever it is, you got to present it and then watch it be filled.
yeah. I and absolutely, I'm absolutely grateful for Prophetess Ebony. She
Me
has
too.
been
Yeah.
such a voice of encouragement
Hmm.
and affirmation in this, unimaginable season. I never
Oh my
expected
God.
any of this.
No, no, I know you didn't.
This. But one of the things that I really, really love is as I'm moving through this time, the more I show up, it's almost as if it's drawing out of the woodworks all of the people who not just need to hear what I have, but who are
Right.
willing to pour into what is
Absolutely.
happening. And so
Yes.
it's almost like the Lord is saying, Andrea, until you move, your people couldn't see you. So they can't know they need to pour here.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And you have to be out there. And I know posting every day for some people, especially when you have a family, like you work, like it's a lot, right? To do this every day and you think you have to be a certain way to be online. It's not that at all. It's just people want to hear you. And there are people at home, like I was at home that 3 month period, they need it. People who can't get to church, people who don't want to go to church, right? Will still get that message from you.
Yeah. And I even think with books, so I am writing new books.
Hmm.
And
Good.
again, I'm very inspired and I'm really encouraged by our conversation. I'm not going to sit here too long, but that this book, I wrote this book with no AI,
That's what
no
I'm
ChatGPT, no nothing. This was me and the Lord.
that's it. That's and
Me
I
and the
told you
Lord.
that. I was like, and I'm not trying to knock anything, but like I just feel like it like bring back the writers, bring back the people that are writing it from their heart. And it's written so well. Like and it's so easy to follow too. I think anyone who thinks they don't have time, it's so short, like each chapter is so short. It's literally 5 minutes and you can get it on Kindle, listen to it on Kindle. I actually want to give away a couple copies of it too. So I don't know how you'll do that, but I'd love to give away some copies because for me, it was really life changing.
Yeah, absolutely. I love to do that. So
Yeah.
how do you let me know how you want to do the giveaways?
Yeah, maybe if there's comments, we can pull some people from the comments. Like we'll look on all the platforms and see if anyone's commenting or who's watching or whatever, and then we can let them know that they won.
All right, perfect. We'll do that. Yeah, so go ahead and let us know if you're here. We can see folks watching.
Yes.
Let us know that you're here. And I would love to give away a few copies
Yeah.
of this book.
Yes.
But saying that to say, writing again, now there's all this pressure, like, hey, there's these ways to get it done faster. Here's all these ways to get it done
Right.
faster. And sometimes the Lord is saying, no, I want you to use what you have
That's it.
in your hand, what I've
That's it.
given you. I'm not asking
Absolutely.
you to do it the way someone else is doing it. And
No.
thing, if Moses had tried to part that Red Sea by talking to it, by doing anything else, it wouldn't have worked. God
No.
allowed what he'd placed in Moses's hand to work.
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah. There is no shortcut. There's no shortcut. There are, right? People are using it for sure. But when it is something that God's given you, He does not expect you to outsource it to anybody. He wants
Yeah.
you to sit down at your computer or at your notebook and write it.
Yeah. I really want to speak to someone who feels like I've gone through a season I didn't anticipate this happening. And it feels like everything, I starting over in career, starting over, in ways that I just didn't anticipate doing. I'll be 40 this June.
Yeah,
And the idea of starting over, even in the idea of starting over in love, like has been
I
such
know.
a thing on my heart because I'm like, Lord, I met my husband when I was 22 years old. We were married by the time I was 24. We had our first kid when I was 25.
Right.
I don't know
Right.
how to be a single adult, never mind date someone.
Dating. Right.
And so
Right.
now, I'm like, I'm at a point where this is a thing that is a desire of mine, but I'm also like, Lord, help me to really work on who you're calling me to be, so that
Absolutely.
the right
Hmm.
people will come. Because one of the things I remember, I was praying one time, and I was like, I've had a lot of tear-filled days, as you can imagine.
Of course.
And I remember saying to the Lord, like, God, I don't enjoy being lonely. We both know I thrive in partnership and all
Hmm.
of those
Hmm.
things. And he's saying, Andrea, do you have a life you like living in yet?
Right. Right.
And I was like, he said, what are you
Hmm.
letting someone else into?
Hmm. Hmm. It's true. It's so true. But I'm glad your heart is open,
Yeah.
and God, like it's going to be a process, you know that, right?
Yeah.
But when you get to the other side of it, you're going to be ready, and then
Yeah.
it'll be wonderful.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
something else that you can't rush. You got to take each step as it comes.
Yeah. But my last question before we go is, I know
Hmm.
that you've gone through a number of seasons of, I don't necessarily want to call them reinvention. I think they're more
Hmm.
expansions on who you are.
Yeah.
Um, and what gives you the courage every time you sense that another expansion is coming to keep going?
Um, I think that my biggest one was I lost my mother a few years ago, and she was my creative partner. She illustrated all my books, and so for a moment, about maybe a year and a half, almost 2 years, I didn't write anything. I didn't publish anything. I'm like, no one else can illustrate for me. And then that was when I discovered the dollhouse stuff. So I started doing that instead of writing. I would just create these little miniature worlds. Now those little worlds are now becoming other stories, and so it really took grief for me to push
Yeah.
me back out there, because I wasn't doing anything. Yeah, ask my friends, ask my community. I wasn't performing. I wasn't doing anything. And so I had to get through the grief, right? But also had to use that as kind of a way to just jump to the new thing. And now I'm writing stories I've never written before. I've never even thought about characters or worlds in that way. And it's because of just building those little miniature spaces.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so good. And so it's interesting, because when God first asked Moses what's in his hand, he's actually
Hmm.
talking about like what he would like, how am I supposed to convince anybody in Egypt that this is you talking? Like, how the people that you want me to lead gonna believe me?
Right.
And so the Lord asked him what's in his hand. And and he says a staff, which we know means a walking stick, whatever. But like, we would have just been like, God, it's a stick. Like,
What am
what
I
are you,
going to do this?
we're
Right.
looking around, like, what are you talking about? It's a
Hmm.
stick, you know? And
Yeah.
then, he has him drop it on the ground, it becomes a snake. He does all these things. And then, so now when the plague's in Egypt and he puts it in the water, and the water
Hmm.
turns blood red. And so now they're facing the Red Sea, and God is like, lift up the
Right.
thing. And
Right.
sometimes I realize that the ways that we need made for us, God needs us to show up so his glory can be seen, right?
That's
I
it.
think we're so good at going where we're comfortable,
Yes.
or going where the light already is. And sometimes
Hmm.
God is saying, I need you to go and stand in a dark place,
Yeah.
and I need you to lift up your light for me so that
Yes.
others can see. Because it's not
Yes.
just us, right? It's not
It's
just us,
not.
others can see. So I'm sure the people could see, and they see Moses stick his head up in there
Hmm.
like, what's going on? But then they
Right.
see the water in front of them, like now there's dry land for them to walk on. And so
Yeah.
I think my takeaway here is that sometimes, even when we've gone through challenging seasons, doubting what we have, doubting what God has given us, when that moment comes and he asks us to lift it up so others can see, it's not always about us having making the way for ourselves. It's because there's so many other people behind us who
That's
need the
it.
way for them.
That's it. He had all those people behind him, and I just imagine how he felt walking up to the sea, and just that's all you see, right? And it's like so many people would be like, you know what? It's meant to be that we're going to turn around. This is crazy, because I don't know what I would have done honestly in that situation, especially with all those people. I'm like, I could kill all these people, but
Yeah.
that really is when the breakthrough happens. Honestly, when you're literally up against a wall. For me, anyway, you have no other choice but to move forward.
No other choice but to move forward.
Yes.
I absolutely agree. I can absolutely agree. I was actually just talking to someone else yesterday, um, who's also experiencing, significant grief and loss.
Yeah.
And one of the things the person said to me is like, they feel stuck, like they just want to pull in. And I'm like,
Right.
girl, I understand. I said there were
Hmm.
months where I would get up, shower, put on a fresh pair of pajamas, get back in my
That's
bed,
it. That's it. Yes.
this day is not happening.
Right.
Or I'd ask other people to come and pick up my children to go to wherever they needed to go.
Mhm.
And I reached this, I think I reached this point, and I was sharing with her, I said, it is not easy. I'm not going to diminish how you're feeling and the heaviness that you're feeling. But what I've learned is that grief can be carried if it's not carried alone.
Right. Exactly.
The weight has
Exactly.
to be shared, number
It has
one.
to be.
And I said this, and the second thing I realized is that grief is with me forever. Like whether I
Yeah.
like it or not, grief is with, because the loss is with me forever. They're not coming
Right.
back. Um, and so I can either learn to carry it well, like I have a number of friends who, close friends who are power lifters. And so the amount of
Mhm.
weight they can lift in the gym, Andrea can't touch that
Right.
at
I
this
mean,
stage in their life, right?
yeah.
But they
Mhm.
train themselves, they're training themselves to be able to lift that kind of weight, right? To
Mhm.
compete.
Mhm.
And I said, grief is a lot like that. And what you'll find is if you have to carry it with community,
Yes.
but take even baby steps forward. Because what you're doing is you're building the strength
That's
to
it.
carry. And one day, I'm not saying it won't hurt, but it won't feel as heavy. And
Exactly.
it's not because the weight got less, it's because you have changed in your capacity to
Exactly.
carry it. Yeah.
Yeah, and be honest about what you need too. I think a lot of us, you know, you mentioned that you would take a shower and put on your pajamas, get back in the bed. There are days it's okay to do that.
It is
It shouldn't
okay.
be forever, right? But it's totally okay to do that when you're exhausted or when you're grieving, or take the time you need for yourself, but be honest with your friends and your community and let them know, listen, I'm having a hard time. And people knew that. I was very honest about that. I didn't hide it at all, even when it was 2 years out and I was still crying at the drop of a dime. It's okay to say that. And I think a lot of people need to hear that so that they know, well, how I'm feeling is normal. It's totally
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah, it's absolutely normal. And, you know, to that point, not only is it normal, but with my friends, I set up not danger point, but here's the you need to check in point. If
Yes, absolutely.
X happens, and X happens, or you don't see or don't hear that X happens or X
Mhm.
happens, or if one of my kids call you,
Right.
definitely check in.
Right. Right, right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And my friends are the same. Like they don't let me check out. Right. Even when I was injured, they would come and get me because I couldn't drive. So they'd come and get me. We go to brunch. Like I was still at least able to be out in the world somewhat. And I think like having friends that will allow that space for rest and for, you know, for recovery, but also won't let you fall into that too deep. Like your valley is there, right? And some of them climbed in the valley with me. Like they
Yeah.
didn't expect me to just climb out on my own. They came down there with me. And that was good.
Beautiful. So beautiful. All right. I know we're at just about at time, but
Mhm.
Crystal, do you have any last thoughts that you want to leave with them? Anything? Please make sure I didn't bring my journal down, but if you want to tell them about your journal, your
Sure.
most
Yeah.
recent, yeah.
I have a new journal that's out, and actually you can get it right on Amazon. Olive Tree will have copies too as well. I'm going to do something at Olive Tree this spring. It's called Courage Grows Here, and it's for anybody who is starting over or start trying something new. But my website is my name, crystalcenterbrown.com, and you can find me on Amazon as well. But I want to thank you for having me this morning.
It's been my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
All right. If you have any questions or thoughts, please feel free to drop them in the comments. If you're watching this by replay, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, we'll go through, select some folks to receive a free copy of the
Mhm.
book. And I am so grateful that you've been taking this journey with us. We are continuing on our 40 Days Lighter journey, but more than that, we're continuing on our journey to becoming. And so we want you to continue on your journey as well. All right.
All right. Have a great
Thank you so
day.
much, Crystal. Have a great day,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.